I hope you already know that you cannot send PII data to Google Analytics. PII data includes information such as email address, name of the person, phone number, etc. If you do end up sending PII data to Google Analytics, then your account can likely be removed. However, sometimes that information is required for your website to work. And by default, when a user goes to that page, that information will be sent to Google Analytics 4. So make sure to remove any PII information from the URLs before you send the data over to GA4. In this video, I will show you how to do that within GA4 interface. But before we dive into the video, please make sure to subscribe to this channel. Now, let's dive in. Log into your GA4 account and go to the admin panel. In the admin panel, under Properties, click on Data Streams. Click on the data stream and scroll down, and you'll see an option called Redact Data. Click on it, and this is where you can specify the data that you want to redact before it's sent to GA4. Redact simply means that the data will be hidden or obscured before it's sent to GA4. Or in simple terms, it'll be removed before the hit is sent to GA4 server. There are two options in this feature. One is an email feature that allows you to remove the email addresses from all the event data sent to GA4 by simply turning on the toggle button next to the email option. By default, any new properties will have this option enabled. However, any GA4 properties that were created before this feature was available will have this option disabled. So if that's the case with you, then go ahead and simply toggle this on. Now, anytime GA4 sees an email address, it'll remove it before the data is sent to GA4. Next option allows you to specify the URL query parameters that you want to remove. For example, if you are sending name, username, IDs, etc. that you want to redact before it's sent to GA4, then you will use this option. Let's see an example of how this works. Go ahead and turn this toggle button on. Now you'll have a text field where you can specify the URL query parameters that you want to remove. To redact the data from multiple query parameters, you will enter them here one by one, separated by comma. So if I want to redact the data for name and phone number fields, then I will type them here, name, comma, phone number. Once you're done adding your query parameters, make sure to hit enter. The next option allows you to test your data redaction before you hit the save button on this feature. So click on the next section to expand it, and here is a text box where you can enter a sample URL with all this data to see how the redacted version will look like. So I'm going to go ahead and paste a URL that I've already written. In this URL, I have few query parameters: the name, which will be redacted, phone number, which will be redacted, and email address that will also be redacted. In addition to the three query parameters that will be redacted, I also have a fourth query parameter that should not be redacted. The order of these query parameters does not make any difference, so keep that in mind. So once you write the URL with all the query parameters, click on Preview Redacted Data. And here you can see that the name is redacted, phone number is redacted, and email is redacted. However, the course query parameter shows up as is. So this is how your data will show up in Explore and other reports after you enable this redaction. Another thing to note here is that email address redaction looks for both @ as well as the URL encoded version of the @ So let's say instead of passing the @ your developers are passing the encoded version of the email address. Here, %40 is the encoded version of @. In that scenario, data redaction will still recognize that as an email address and remove the data. So let's click on Preview Redacted Data, and here you can see that data is redacted. One final thing to note is that email redaction relies on the email address showing up in the URL. It does not rely on the name of the query parameter. So this query parameter can be called anything. However, if you have toggled the option to redact email address, GA4 will look for the email address So it does not rely on the name of this field. So for example, if I call this field user ID and click on preview redacted data, that data is still redacted because it doesn't care what you call this query parameter. All it looks for is the presence of email address. And if it finds it, it removes it. Once you're satisfied, scroll up and click on Save. Now your data redaction is in place. And that's all you need. Go ahead and set this up. And if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe to this channel. If you want to learn GA4 step by step, then check the link in the description of this video. In the description of this video are also the links to some free GA4 resources. So make sure to check them out as well.